Since EliGE's name comes from another language, I think Spanish translation of the word select, which was the name of a pro player. It's actually a guy who won the World Cyber Games in that like Dawn of War or whatever it was called, like Warhammer RTS if people don't know, but was also an early StarCraft 2 pro at like the MLG level in the West when it was just NA competing there. Since he took his name from that guy and changed it and became EliGE, if I was to select for you a world-class flavour of gamer subs, then I think I would choose to represent EliGE, probably Dragon Fruit Punch, because it's understated. He's a bit more of a quiet guy. It's really consistent though. I think consistency is one of the best aspects of his game, hence why his spray is so good. He always keeps his mind on top of the meta. And also, I'd say, even though it doesn't quite hit the peaks of the absolute best flavours, the Simples, the Nicos of the world perhaps, it is a very good flavour, one of the best in my opinion, whether other people acknowledge it or not, just like EliGE. And also, it's Dragon Fruit Punch. And you know what? If you ever watched EliGE and Team Liquid's games, they do have a tendency to drag on, don't they? Yeah. So anyway, code Thorin, Thorin, for 10% off an order of gamer subs, perhaps, maybe even the aforementioned Dragon Fruit Punch. Now, this particular series, narrative mechanic, where I take like a popular narrative or something I think's been like skewed, or I think it's just nonsense anyway, or it needs way more nuance adding to it. This series was practically invented for this type of episode, because you will have heard this line so many times from other people in CS, on broadcasts, and it's always referenced as, well, of course, EliGE is really talented because he was a StarCraft 2 pro as well as a CS pro, and, you know, was really smart at school, so that shows how good he was, right? Because obviously StarCraft, more of a cerebral esports, it's more the chess of esports, as it were. The problem with it is, it's just nonsense. Like, it's not true at all. Like, EliGE played in tournaments that featured pros. He was not, in any reasonable, meaningful context, pro. As in, if I told you an equivalent pro in CSGO, you would never have heard of them. Like, it wouldn't even be. I think, essentially, when you bear in mind Koreans played StarCraft, and there were thousands of them, and hundreds were amazing in competition level, and they had the whole GSL Codes. Then in the West, you'd have to be the top Western players from France or Germany or Poland or whatever to even have a chance in the big tournaments, and even then you're usually not winning them. You have to understand, NA barely had any really top pros, and EliGE was not one of those names. No one in StarCraft 2 would remember this guy's name. He was a young kid. He was like, we're talking like he was like 15, 16, 17 at this time. And he was just playing in online cups. Like, he might have been doing a decent job on the NA ladder. By the way, a much worse ladder. Way worse than Korea. And also worse than the European one. He was in no way a top player, some big name. Spoiler, wouldn't it be... Do you not get the idea that, like, if he was some phenom at 15, 16, 17, doing really well in StarCraft 2, and then pivoted and went over to be in... CSGO, do you not think by now Team Liquid would have done a feature on that, like how he was a multi-game talent? Shitters like the Score Esports, they'd have done something by now, wouldn't they? You think I wouldn't have mentioned something? All those articles I've written about him. Like, use your head, guys. It's obviously not the case, is it? Like, this just doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, by the way, as far as I can tell, even Leaf, the guy who played in like Chaos temporarily in CSGO for a few years and was a smaller player, is mainly known for having fallen a Gowlers, get like death threats sort of sent his way by accusing him of cheating in that game against MIBR online in 2020. He became, by the way, a world-class player in Valorant. I think it's more appropriate to say he was a CSGO pro than it is to say that EliGE was a StarCraft 2 pro. And by the way, I don't suspect EliGE would disagree with me. In fact, I'll show you in a moment. So let's start out. This is the other reason this topic irritates me, is we're on the internet, guys. Like, it would be so easy to find this information. Why is no one ever putting up a picture of him on a podium? Why has no one got him in a jersey like he was a StarCraft 2 pro? Because you haven't even taken 1 minute to Google it. Anyone who's saying this information. So first things first, a little primer for how the internet works. You want to look some simple history up. This website, esportsearnings.com, does a pretty good job. Sure, they might not have some obscure Ukrainian LAN in 2004 that Blade played in. Spoiler, I could actually potentially give them that info if they ever hit me up. I know a few of the guys from there, so maybe I will one day. It's just not that big a deal that he won, 100 euros or something. But anyway, for most normal competitions, especially like legit pro esports, they're going to have it in here. So spoiler, when you go here, you type in here, what's that, EliGE, yeah, players, search. There's only one found, so we know it can only be him, EliGE, spelt the right way. Jonathan Jablonowski, yep, that's him. Oh, look at all this, EliGE, Liquid. Oh, he's won $1 million, right? What you do is click his ID, and it's going to tell you here he's a CSGO pro. But okay, he might have played more games. Scroll down, earnings by game. CSGO and Valorant. That's right. He stood in some Valorant cup for like Team Liquid, and they got like 1,800 as his share or whatever. He's actually won money in Valorant, guys. And Graham, I also would not consider employing. You'll notice no StarCraft 2. It's nothing listed, which means he hasn't recorded even $1 fucking won in a tournament they viewed as meaningful and they have the results for. So that should already give it away there. And then spoiler, go and look when he's in CSGO, where he's obviously doing his winnings. Age 17 onwards, 7,000, 18, 89,000. Spoiler, if he was 15, 16, 17, barely 17, you think he was some top pro in fucking StarCraft? He's not Korean, you know, dude. Like, there were some phenoms in StarCraft too. Spoiler, we know their names. People like, what, fucking Mana. Obviously, you go back, and I mean, I guess if you want to go really crazy, like Hero Marine was like 15 or something when he was good. Like, mate, there was some really bangers back then. Obviously, in Quake, we've had Cooler, Cypher, Avec. There weren't no EliGE, mate. And even in CSGO, we've had fucking Element. We've obviously got Monacy in the modern day. Sergey. There's some really good young players, but Brolan, this guy wasn't one of them in that sense. It even took him a couple of years to power up in CSGO until he got really amazing. Like, what, 1-2 years at least? So then what you do is, that's just esports only, which is already basically spoiler. You can just end the video there. But let's go for more info. Because if you go over to this, Liquipedia, StarCraft 2, all you're going to do is put in EliGE, aren't you? What do you know? Do you mean Elite? That's right, guys. He doesn't even have a fucking page listing on the StarCraft 2 Liquipedia. Even now, as someone who's a top pro in CSGO, because he did so little, it wouldn't be relevant to have a page and no one would care to look it up. That's how you know he did nothing in StarCraft 2. Let's go and look what tournaments, though, he's been listed on. So we've got WCS Season 2 America Qualifier. Okay. Then we got 2013 WCS Season 1 America Qualifier, invite only, okay. Then we got, look, by the way, spoiler, the reason these are all qualifiers is because he's just playing in the online qualifier for North America, the weakest of the big regions, and he's not getting through the qualifier. Like, if we go over here and we have a look, how did he do? How did old EliGE do? Let's see, what race does he even play? I believe it said it was, didn't it say he was Protoss? But I guess if he's playing Select, in theory, you would assume he would be Terran, because that's what Select played. So let's look. Doesn't even list his name, by the way. When I actually search it, it doesn't find it. So I only find it if I open this shit. So if we go here, we'll have a quick look. Where did he play? Where did he play? It's going to be in one of these in a second. Still isn't finding it. So now I assume I have to go here and open all these giant brackets just to find EliGE. Where? He beats the cool man, never heard of him, and then loses to a Korean player called Center. See ya, EliGE. Okay, but then he plays again. He plays Demon Sheep from Taiwan and beats him. And then he loses to Boom Boom, who was actually like a Korean pro, but even so, he's just losing second fucking round of open qualifiers here, guys. Then he plays again. He beats, never heard of a guy. He beats Top, who, fair play, was a pro and was like a decent pro from Korea. He beats Shu, who's like an average NA pro, and then he loses to his Hero Select. Okay, not a bad run in this one. Still doesn't get through, of course. That's it. He just played those tournaments. Now, you can imagine if I go through all of them, it's going to be the same story. 2014, just before he gets into CSGO, he's playing again in the qualifier for America. He's playing in the Demios Esports League. By the way, spoiler, these aren't really good teams. These are just NA squads. And then what team's he on? Clarity Gaming, I think it was. Some shit like that. Oh, he was actually on Demios, which is the name of the team league, which I imagine is why they're in the team league. And by the way, not that many of these players are very well known. There's much better teams like Complexity here, Root Gaming. You could maybe even say, I mean, I'd mainly just say Root Gaming for the other ones. Yeah, this is just NA teams, by the way, guys. So there's nothing really particularly relevant here. Look, just Odd Cop, IEM one, Shanghai. What year was this? 2013, he's just playing in an America's qualifier here. How does he do? Let's have a quick look. Doesn't even show up again. It's not a great sign, which I think implies he didn't even get through. So I assume I have to go to this part, this like shitty bracket first. He loses to Sound, a Korean player I don't really remember, but I assume he was half decent. He beats Desro, who was a bit of a meme, but was like a half decent pro. And he loses to Fog, a guy I've never heard of, 2-1. That's it. There we go. End of the story for that qualifier. So you can keep going. There's not that much, by the way, in 2012, which is, I think, by the way, when he would be something like 15 years old. Let's see how he does in 2012, shall we? So again, can't even find it. So I assume now I'm going to have to open all these fucking giant brackets, because that's what these tournaments were like, by the way. Like, this is the qualifier to get into MLG. And in 2012, by the way, it's when it's basically just Western pros and mainly just NA. It's not all the big Koreans and Boxer and all that. It's none of those guys. So let's go and look where he is. Right. He loses, it looks like, against Katu, which I assume means it was a BO1. Then he goes down and he's in the loser bracket. He loses to Gimmicks 2-1. That's it. That's it. Like, these are the tournaments we're talking about, guys. Then we go down. There's, oh, look at this. MLG Anaheim. That was a LAN. That was a LAN. Where did he place? He placed 61st at MLG in 2014. Now, look, Destiny, famous streamers there, but Destiny was mainly just known for streaming, not like deep runs in MLGs. You go up, he's below people like Pooh. Sure, Thorin's there. Must have had a bad tournament, select himself. You know, these aren't like bad players he's around. Nesty was even 25, but 61 is irrelevant, by the way, guys. You're not even vaguely relevant to the tournament. And then after this, he becomes a CSGO pro, doesn't he? Remember, if you even go to his CSGO page on Liquipedia, it's going to show you that by his age, he would have been like 15 in 2012. And then on top of that, he started playing at the end, realistically, seriously, at the end of 2014. I showed you that was a 2014 tournament. He was coming 61st, for fuck's sake. And then when you go down, it's going to tell you, oh, look, his areas come from the Spanish translation of the word select, select being his favourite StarCraft 2 player. Notice it doesn't say fellow StarCraft 2 pro, select, it just says his favourite StarCraft 2 player. And then what you could do is go to interviews. I mean, there's so many fucking things you could click on and know what you're talking about instead of just talking out your arse. So if you go to some of his early interviews here, let's go to this one that was with Team Elevate, the team that he was playing for, one of his first proper teams. So they go here. For those unaware, can you give us a background of your Counter-Strike career? I've played Counter-Strike since I was 5 years old. So the whole time, by the way, he was playing Counter-Strike. He just played StarCraft 2 on the side. But it was not as continuous as I bounced between games. All right, fair enough. I played for some seasons in CS 1.6. It must have literally been like 12, by the way. But nothing major. For CSGO, I've had the game since it came out, but was still playing StarCraft 2 at the time. Playing, not I was a pro. So I was only able to get serious at CSGO at the beginning of 2014 when I was done with StarCraft 2, right? Even he doesn't try to claim he's a StarCraft 2 pro, guys. Because as I said at the beginning, the key thing to understand is StarCraft 2 is a 1v1 game. So in terms of the top players, you're not going to have as many as in Counter-Strike because you have 5 per team in Counter-Strike. Like, just to have the top 8 of a major, you have 40 players there, 5 times 8, obviously. In StarCraft, top 8 is 8 players. So like I said, there were so many Koreans that were amazing. In Europe, there was like 3, 4 Swedes. You could go like 1, 2, 3 Spanish players. You could go and get like 2 or 3 Polish players, like 3 or 4 from Ukraine, a couple from Russia, a couple from Germany, a couple from like fucking whatever. And Norway, there'd be 1 or 2. Denmark, there's going to be 1 or 2. UK, 1 or 2. You keep going like, mate, he's below all these people. And then when we come to NA, like I said, NA was often a laughing stock. It was only the top players, or it was players that were on teams like EG or Team Liquid. He wasn't any of those things. Remember, he played in Team Liquid and CSGO. He was playing for nobody teams in StarCraft 2. He wasn't a big name. He's a little kid. And the fact he's a little kid tells you that if he'd been a phenom and he'd done all these amazing things, you would have heard of it. It would be to this day baked into his story. If someone came into CSGO and was a top pro now and was like a former poker pro, you don't think it'd be mentioned a million times? I mean, dude, people mention Carrigan getting that business degree in like 2015 with TSM at the same time, like a master's in business at the same time as being a CS pro, because it's impressive. The people saying, and he was also a StarCraft 2 pro, you're just overselling it. You're over-egging the pudding, as we say in Britain.
Welcome to Thorin's YouTube channel. Andrew, shut the fuck up, you piece of shit. Welcome to Thorin's YouTube channel. It's gonna be a wild ride. GG, motherfuckers.
This video was kindly supported by Ahmed Hadjou, Hades GOUD, Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Animosity, Butt Pounder 420, Jensen Goh, Kovacevicd, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Torin, and as always, special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Would you like to suggest a topic or a guest for my upcoming content? Maybe you want to ask a question in my monthly AMA. Would you like teasers to find out who the guests are for upcoming interviews and shows? Maybe you want to take part in one of those lengthy esports discussions with me that can go all over the place. Well, if so, put your money where your mouth is and join the Scrilluminati today, where, in the description box below, there's a Patreon link.